That's Nick.
That's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Twinless, this sophomore film directed by James Sweeney, which premiered in the U.S. Dramatic Competition category at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival, where it won the Audience Award. Roadside Attractions and Lionsgate are releasing it theatrically September 5th, 2025.
So I know we reviewed this director's first film.
Yes, Straight Up was the title.
What is Twinless about? Roman is reeling from the death of his twin brother Rocky. To process his grief, he reluctantly begins attending a support group for individuals who've lost their twins. What is your pull quote?
An emotionally morbid but eventually poignant dramedy swirling together identity issues predicated on gaslighting, fidelity, and grief, director James Sweeney and the double duty from Dylan O'Brien make Twinless a dark-hearted pleasure.
Hmm. Mine. Sweeney crafts a darkly funny, twist-filled exploration of grief and obsession, anchored by a spectacular performance from Dylan O'Brien.
Mhm.
I kind of love this movie.
Yeah, I think that it is quite well done. You know, there was significant drama because Sundance, which still offers remote coverage of the festival, somebody had leaked these sex scenes with Dylan O'Brien, and they had to take it off of their press site during the festival. It was a lot of drama.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, there is a sex scene between the two leads. This film had elements that reminded me of so many other films like I Love You Man, Friendship. I even thought like Fight Club and Misery. But I think if sort of a twisted, dark comedy with queer elements sounds appealing, I think you would really like this film. And there are some major spoilers that I feel like I can't not mention. So I would definitely recommend people watch this film first before they listen to me ruin it.
I agree. And I think that about all films, really. If you're going to see it, watch it yourself first, going in cold. But, you know, with the queer identity issues, I was thinking, because this is a comedy and it is poignant, but there is a dark-heartedness to it that, I was thinking Talented Mr. Ripley. If Genevieve Bujold had happened to be able to screw over Jeremy Irons' twins and Dead Ringers, like it had, like it goes into some uncomfortable places.
Okay, so I'm going to tell the story. Roman is played by Dylan O'Brien, and Roman has a twin, Rocky, who's also portrayed by Dylan O'Brien. But the film opens with a car accident off screen and a funeral. So we realize that Rocky has died in a car accident, and Roman is, of course, distraught. So Rocky's the gay one, Roman is straight. Rocky was very sort of like educated and chic and living a bigger city life, while Roman stayed at home with his mother, who's portrayed by,
Lauren Graham playing Lisa, who you know from The Gilmore Girls and Bad Santa.
that's right. And this mother son, he's probably too old to be living in his mom's basement. So they have a contentious relationship, which I kind of find funny in a dark way because they're always shouting at each other. But she says, you need to get help. So he starts going to a support group for people who have lost their twins. And we'll get back to it, but the support group is led by Tasha Smith, who I thought had some really funny moments.
Tasha seems really sweet and, of course, is a twin in real life.
Yes. So while at the support group, Roman meets Dennis, and Dennis is played by the writer-director James Sweeney. And Dennis seems to take a liking to Roman, and they develop a friendship. And that's where like the I love you man friendship vibes come from. But it's obvious that something's not quite right. And so there are three gags. And so I'm just going to go through them. The first one, Dennis is not a twin. He made that shit up. In fact, he is obsessed with twins. The second gag is that Dennis knew Rocky, the dead gay twin. They went on a date, and it was like the best date ever.
Mhm.
They had a great physical connection. They shared a lot, but it was very clear that Rocky is the type of guy who can do that, who can have these intense connections with someone and then sort of move on very quickly.
Rocky's like a drug.
Yeah, kind of. So of course Dennis is distraught, like, well, I think I love this man and he ghosted me. So there's that. But the biggest gag is that Dennis is responsible for the accident that killed Rocky. So, in a way, like in a roundabout way, which we can get to. So, Roman has developed a friendship with this man. I mean, that's where like the talented Mr. Ripley comes from, where it's just like his lying skills are next level.
Yeah, and basically he's a parasite, even though the context is he is also trying to navigate his own grief.
Sure, but he's dead ass wrong.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Luckily, Dennis is, I believe, a graphic designer, and the receptionist in his office, is played by an actor named,
Aisling Franciosi, who we reviewed her in a film that we both quite liked called Stop Motion.
oh, that's her.
And again, I've seen this twice now, and each time I forgot it was her. But her, if you've never seen Jennifer Kent, who directed The Babadook, if you've never seen that director's film, The Nightingale, starring Aisling, fantastic lead performance in that, by the way.
Well, her character's name is Marcy, and I think she was my favorite character, and she has great hair. She is like the sweetest person ever. She's a great listener. There's a point made that she's a psychology major. So she's, it's supposed to mean that she's very good at like sort of catching details and understanding people's moods and just clocking tea left and right. So she starts dating Roman.
Hmm.
And as she gets closer to him, of course, Roman is telling her all about his best friend Dennis, who she works with. And she's like, something's not right. Like the stuff he's telling you does not sound like the Dennis I know. And so she discovers through her own investigating that Dennis is lying. So she confronts him and says, you better tell my boyfriend the truth or I'm going to tell him. Dennis does. Roman whoops his ass, which, I don't condone violence, but he needed his ass whooped. And then so the final scene in the film is that Roman meets Dennis for like a lunch date. And I'm not quite sure why, except that it was made to seem like maybe he's starting to get lonely because Marcy has a very vibrant social life. So she is starting to do things with her friends again. And they meet, and Dennis is the most truthful we've seen him. And Roman asks him, did my brother ever mention me? And Dennis relays a story that basically culminates in Rocky saying that Roman was the better twin. And it sounds like that's what Roman needed to hear because a big part of Roman's grief is the guilt he felt about pushing his brother away when he first came out to him as gay. So hearing that his brother thought he was the better one lifted something off of his shoulders. And the film ends with the two getting to-go boxes for their sandwich. And it's very ambiguous as to how they'll move forward. But I guess I'll start with, do you think these two should try to foster a friendship now that everything's out in the open?
I mean, why not? I think that, you have to keep in mind the context of the situation. And Dennis is also kind of growing and figuring out aspects of his own identity that, as kind of an isolated queer person, that he's maybe never been allowed to do. So uh, I don't know. People are allowed to grow and they can make mistakes. And if, sure, why not?
I guess my opinion would be, why not? I mean, everything's out in the open, so it's almost like you know the worst of this person. And I think sometimes that allows people to actually be more authentic moving forward. Maybe they could have an
Well,
honest, real friendship.
I think the basis of every relationship is when you can acknowledge the absolute worst of someone and still want to move forward with the relationship, whether that be platonic or romantic. But we all, keep sides of our personality to ourselves, or you don't know how to react in situations. It's not like Roman is perfect either. He's very prone to violence. He has a lot of things to work on himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to start going through my notes. So Tasha Smith leads this support group and I like her in everything I see her in. And her character is saying that she's working on her stand-up comedy. So she kind of like as an icebreaker, she does stand up. And at a point she's talking about, I would be so jealous when my twin would do things without me. I was so upset she got chlamydia without me. I thought that was very funny.
She's utilized very well. I wish there had been more of her actually.
Oh yeah, for sure. Roman's so cute. Dylan O'Brien, I mean, I think his performance is very impressive because he's like two different people because we see him playing Rocky, the gay brother, who's like stylish and you know what his performance was kind of giving me? Like he could, if they redid the Birdcage again, he could be the Robin Williams character.
Yes, he could. I wanted more of gay Dylan O'Brien because I think the juxtaposition of the two, completely distinct personalities is impressive. But
Yeah.
I feel like I've met so many people like Rocky, and the dialogue is executed very well also because the intimate conversation between Dennis and Rocky after on their first date or hookup is, he basically says what he does is that he gives so much of himself that it's exhausting. And I think I would like to see more of that character because he might seem like a cad, right, for kind of ghosting Dennis, which is, that's a reality of what people do, and it has been for a long time. But how exhausting that must be to give so much of yourself and then continually have to do that. That's almost Promethean, right? Who got his liver eaten out by a eagle every day, or like Sisyphus. It's just, it seems like such a labor that thinking about him exhausts me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Going back to Roman though, he because he's not how would you describe the way Dylan O'Brien is playing Roman? Because he's almost like a simpleton in a way.
Yes, he is simple, and he acknowledges that he's not the brightest knife in the drawer or whatever, whatever. But he's also been conditioned to think that way about himself. And I think through his friendship with Dennis, kind of learns to respect himself a bit more and kind of go out on a limb and try other things. And
Yeah.
but he's not sophisticated.
But he's very cute. At one point early on, he asks, because Dennis shares that he suffers from car sickness, and Roman says, "Oh, my brother was prone to getting car sick. I wonder if that's connected to the gay gene." Like he makes these little simple, sweet comments that he means no harm. And then at one point, they're talking about where Roman is from, and he says Moscow, and Dennis is like Moscow, Idaho. And Roman goes, "You know another one?" I just thought he was so cute, the way that character was written.
He wants to be agreeable at all times, it seems
Hmm.
like, which kind of gets him in some traps.
So I thought the first really cringy moment is, after the funeral and Roman getting back out there trying to do things. It's kind of comical. And there's a point made later on in the film, and there's a phenomenon that Marcy mentions where like you don't notice things until you are involved with them. Like I started driving a blue Toyota Prius, and so it wasn't until after I got that car that I noticed Priuses everywhere. So in the film, we see a lot of twins, which you would never see in reality. Like we live in a major city, and how many times do you see twins with the frequency you see them in this film? But the first time things get a little weird is Roman is out and about in the city, and some lady recognizes him as Rocky. And she's like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God, Rocky." Like she's talking to him like they're good friends, not knowing that Rocky is dead. And Roman doesn't know what to do except pretend to be him. And then we see that he has done that a couple times where he just goes along with it, which you can only imagine I mean, can you imagine how difficult that would be to have to pretend to be your dead twin?
Yeah, there's a constant trauma because, well, like any other instances where it's just easier to roll with the punches than it is trying to explain.
Yeah. And then the first time we get a glimpse at Dennis's, I think, true nature is he's at work. And I really liked the actor portraying Dennis's boss because she was a real one. She's like, "I don't talk about my personal life. I don't want to hear about yours."
I know, I love the birthday party, the surprise birthday party. She walks in and they're screaming happy birthday, and she's like, "How'd you know I don't talk about my personal life?"
Yeah, yeah. But the first time we get a glimpse of who Dennis is he's asking her for advice, and she's like, ugh, if it's not work related, don't ask me. And he just continues, like, well, I went out with this guy and I really like him, and I texted him, he didn't text me back, and so then I waited. What do you think I should do? And this lady tells him, never text him again. He doesn't like you. We all
I
need
mean,
that friend. We all need that friend.
that's the evidence that I saw that you gave me. So,
Then the obsession part is, well, after he talks to his boss and doesn't get the answer he wants, because then you already realize, like, oh, you're one of those. Like, you're a problem. So he goes to Marcy, the receptionist, and asks her, and she is so good at dealing with people and like, not trying to create conflict, but also being genuine. And so she basically tells him, like, you should do what your heart tells you to do. And he says, oh, good. I knew you would understand. And this man goes to Rocky's place. So, of course, this is a flashback. He goes to Rocky's place. Oh, really quickly, I thought it was so clever how we kind of cut to Dennis with Rocky, because I was confused at first, because we had seen in the scene before that Roman showed up to a bookstore with Dennis wearing one of Rocky's shirts.
mhm.
Because he's kind of dressed like a schlubby straight dude, but then he shows up to the bookstore in kind of a cute button up. And Dennis comments, like, is that one of Rocky's shirts? Because you look nice. So then the next scene, we see Dennis meeting Dylan O'Brien. And I was confused, like, God, he looks so good. Like, he's dressed really nicely with like fitted clothes. And that's when you realize, OMG, Dennis met Rocky. Like, this is so twisted.
Well, it's actually the dialogue pattern. It is kind of Gilmore Girls between the meet cute with Rocky and Dennis. But well, I don't know. Like I saw it originally at Sundance, and just upon rewatching it, I already knew that, so I didn't have that thought. But I think that Dylan O'Brien's the way he moves is an immediate clue, and of course he has the little mustache.
That's right. Yeah. But Dennis shows up at Rocky's damn building. Like he pretends to be UPS, gets into the building, and then sneaks up to the apartment. And right as he's about to knock on the door, Rocky leaves with another guy. And that guy's integral. But Dennis follows him outside, and then he's following him, his little Mini Cooper. Rocky and his date are crossing the street, and Dennis almost runs into them. And then he gets out of the car and starts screaming at Rocky. And so Rocky
Mhm.
tells his date, "Hold on, give me 2 minutes to smooth this over." And so Rocky walks into the street to start talking to Dennis to calm him down. And that's when a car strikes and kills him. So that's why I said that Dennis is, inadvertently responsible, because Roman finds out through that date. And I recognize that guy. I think he's on Abbott Elementary.
George, played by Chris Perfetti.
I liked
He
him.
he also reminded me of a lot of gay men I met.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's how good the writing is as well, because it's like I know who this person is immediately.
Yeah, I feel like I know George, I know Rocky, I know Dennis,
Yep.
but
Mhm.
a pivotal moment is Roman and Dennis like to go grocery shopping. And one day George bumps into them and he feels like he's seen a ghost because, the identical twin. And it's George who tells Roman, yeah, I was there when your brother was killed. Some crazy guy was like screaming at him, and that's what drew him into the street. And the way Dennis is looking that entire scene is so cringy. And at a point, George is like, wait, do I know you? You look familiar. And that's when Dennis starts speaking with a British accent. I was so uncomfortable. And of course, after George leaves, Roman says, like, well, what was up with that accent? And he goes, oh, when I'm attracted to people, I speak in accents. It's like, you are insane, sir.
But he does think quickly on his feet. You got to admire that.
Well, liars are good at that. Um, oh God. Then we realize, so in the opening of the film at the funeral, we see someone approach Roman and say, like, I knew your brother, and I feel like I know you because you both look the same. And this random man starts crying. And then the next person in line to pay their condolences, we don't see their face. And I couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman, but they give him a hug. And then we learn later that that person who gave him a hug in the beginning of the film was Dennis's crazy ass wearing a Dora the Explorer wig.
Yeah.
I mean, that's full on crazy.
Oh, what's that girl? What's the smart girl from Scooby-Doo? What's her name? Velma?
But yeah, a Velma wig.
Glasses.
I thought a powerful moment is Roman and Dennis are hanging out and they're walking through a parking lot, just like being silly, when these three young guys walk by and call them the F slur.
Mhm.
Roman is like, "Stop the track. What did you just say to me?" And Dennis is funny because he's like, "I will," because of course the guys say other nasty things, and Dennis is like, I'll do anything to de-escalate this situation." And like you already mentioned, Roman has some impulse control issues. He can be violent, and he beats the dog shit out of all three of those guys. But the funniest, well, at one point, because Dennis is not doing anything, and Roman is good at fighting. And at one point, he's like, "Oh, there's one over here. Like, get him too." And then in the end, Roman says, "I thought Gen Z was supposed to be nice." A really powerful moment is there are two occasions where Roman and Dennis are in a hotel room together. And I just don't recall why they were in a hotel room. But the first time, Roman is kind of like withdrawn and sad. And Dennis says to him, "Why don't you talk to me like I'm your twin?" And Dylan O'Brien gives a really good emotional performance. And that's when we learn that he basically feels guilty for reacting negatively for when his brother came out and that he wishes he wouldn't have done that. And he understands that's why his brother left. Like left.
Well, he interprets his brother leaving as that being the case.
Oh, right. We don't know that for
Yeah.
sure from Rocky's mouth, but yeah, that's how he interprets it. And I thought Dylan O'Brien gave such a good performance. And then the creepiest part is after it's all said and done, Roman tells Dennis, "I wish you could have met Rocky." And as the audience, we already know that Dennis is very familiar with Rocky.
Oh, they're intimate. Yes.
Yeah. And well, and we didn't mention there is a sex scene, which is, Dylan O'Brien, he does go there. I mean, we don't see real nudity, but I mean, they're clearly like having sex. I think another really good character is earlier on, Roman says, "Oh, I work with this gay guy. I can introduce you to Dennis." And Dennis is like, not all gay guys are just because we're gay, we're gonna like each other. And so they end up going to Marcy's like
Halloween.
Halloween party. And guess who's there? Francois Arnaud, like a
Mhm.
very attractive man. And that's
Very attractive French Canadian. Yes.
and Roman's like, "Oh, that's my gay coworker I was trying to hook you up with." And of course, like anyone with eyes would be like, "Well, hook this shit up." So, but I thought that was such great casting because, even aside from the fact that he's like an insanely attractive man, it's like this man, you and Dennis and this man have nothing in common. Because Francois starts like he's so like vibrant, and Dennis asks him, "What are your interests?" And this man is like clearly very physically active. He likes to do all kinds of physical things, none of which Dennis would be interested in. But then Dennis still thinks that like he has a shot with him. And I think that worked really well because it shows that Dennis just is prone to like obsessing about things regardless of what the other thing might want or need.
I think it's a good twin sequence to the meet cute with Rocky though, because they fit together, like hand to glove, right? Like their little weird personalities match in a way, that makes, his reaction, even though it's ludicrous and unhealthy and ethically wrong, it makes sense because you can see how feeling like that and feeling seen by this person would be intoxicating.
Yeah. I do think so. After Francois sort of saying, what his interests are and being very like, magnetic, he asked Dennis, "What's the wildest thing you've done this year?" And I was screaming, like, feign this sadistic relationship, tell all these lies.
He said, I can't, nothing comes to mind. It's like, okay.
So Roman starts connecting with Marcy, and Dennis is trying to cog block. So he comes up with this idea of like, let's go on a double date. And he's being self-serving too, because he's thinking Roman's going to bring François or no. So they show up to the double date, and it's not François because he just wasn't feeling Dennis. He said Dennis was cute, and he doesn't do cute. So who's the date Roman brought? George. And so of course, as the audience, I'm like, oh my God. And so they, as an icebreaker, are playing two truths, one lie. And surprise, Dennis is really good at this game. I thought that was funny. So after that double date, now Dennis is a third wheel. And I have to mention, I really liked the cinematography, and I really liked the moment where they go to this like museum, like this art installation that is all lights.
Mhm.
Do
Yeah,
you know?
that looked Greg Cotton's the cinematographer, and yeah, I thought that looked is a very visually resplendent scene. But there's also, I think, really interesting use of split screen, like it's a
Oh,
genre
yes.
film.
hmm But it's in that scene at the museum that, or the installation, that Marcy starts putting two and two together and starts asking questions, and Dennis freaks out and fakes an anxiety attack, which was so well done, but so uncomfortable.
All the scene, well, when Dennis starts becoming, you know, abusive to Marcy, it feels hard to watch also because it's like this young lady has been nothing but sweet to you, even though all your
Right.
coworkers are trash. He actually reminded me of somebody that you work with. Um, but it's it's just difficult to see him going there. But it's out of self-defense. But that I don't think that excuses it. But I think that everything is well calibrated because you're having the reactions you're supposed to this scenario.
Yes. So we move on from that moment, and we get a scene where Roman and Marcy are having sex, like actively having sex, and Dennis has been blowing up Roman's phone. So Marcy goes, maybe you should pick it up. There might be something wrong. And when he does, it's just Dennis trying to suck up Roman's time, and he knows Marcy's there, so he's acting all deflated. And that's when Marcy says, well, why don't we invite him to Christmas with your mom? Which, of course, is like, no, don't do that. And I thought a funny moment is Dennis is just sour the entire drive over. It's Marcy and Roman in the front seat, and they're driving this big Cadillac sedan. And Dennis is sitting behind Marcy, and she asks, like, do you have enough leg room? And he goes, no. They're like basically like a limousine. And he's like, no, I don't have enough leg room. He's so mean to her.
He is. And then that's when we get Roman likes to play this song called Crazy for the Girl.
hmm Yeah. But Marcy and Dennis and Roman are at the mom's house. And again, I think the way Roman and his mom speak to each other, it's abusive in a way, like, because they're always yelling, but it is funny. And then there's a moment where the mom catches Dennis in Rocky or Roman's bedroom closet and finds a bunch of Pokemon, and they share a moment. And it's just so awkward watching these people be vulnerable with Dennis and be authentic with him. And he just soaks it up, knowing full well that he is a damn liar.
That's the problem. He's in too deep. I mean, and it's difficult to learn when is the least destructive moment to reveal the truth. I think the point where the truth is revealed is also um, toxic and one that displays Dennis's inability to know where the boundaries are.
Yeah, because he's giving the foot massage, I mean, it's so uncomfortable because you can see the toe sucking coming, and Roman handles it pretty well. Like
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know what they taught you in foot massage school, but like I'm not into that. And that's when Dennis says, I lied, and tells him the full truth. Again, I don't think violence is the answer, like the first answer, but it could be the second answer. And I just felt like, because also earlier on, Roman had said, if I ever meet that crazy guy who got my brother killed, I'm gonna like, or whatever he said, rip out his eyes and shove it up his ass. Like, so you knew it was coming. Like you knew Roman was not gonna react well to the truth. But after that, Dennis has the nerve to show up at that twin support group again. And one of the ladies there is like, just so you know, Roman emailed us and told us everything. And Tasha Smith is like, is that true that you don't have a twin? And this man tries to make sense of it. And I feel like I know this person, like just trying to conjure up some excuse for their behavior. I mean, at one point he talks about vanishing twin syndrome.
Well, I think he owes these people an explanation. I think he's still not ready to kind of be held accountable for his actions. But I think that's like a first step of atonement for him is to return to this group and do that. Because we
But
also haven't gotten
you
into.
think he was trying to atone?
I think so. Yeah, I think that because he could have been just a coward and left, or not said anything, or I think he's trying, even though it's ridiculous. But we didn't also. There's an extra layer to all that is that he has a twin fetish.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that because I also think that constructing this queer character, and I do think that that is a problem with a lot of gay men, is fetishizing people and parts and a lot of things, and it's kind of normalized. And so I like that in this film it's so exaggerated, but it does point a finger and it does make you think.
Well, because it seems like it's something innocuous because I think there's always been an enigma about twins or any other multiples of children born at the same time. And it was reminding, I didn't have a twin fetish, but I remember being a young kid and I was a lonely child, and I remember desperately wanting to know what that felt like to be able to be so close to somebody that would know everything about you. And and this is probably going to sound morbid, but I I was so interested and moved by what a twin experience might be like. I remember I thought I needed to take it upon myself and create a catalog of all the twins that Joseph Mengele did things to in the concentration camps.
Well, the
But
fascination with twins makes perfect sense. And I do think that, like, I mean, who wouldn't want to know what that feels like to be that connected to someone? So that's reasonable, but I think it's the taking it to this next level that I feel like is a really good device to point to like a real issue that a lot of people have is almost turning other people into like objects for their use without any regard for what their needs might be, which is what Dennis was doing. I did want to go back
yes.
to the final support group meeting because as Dennis is trying to like give all these excuses to these people as to why he lied the way he did, he's then trying to explain like, my mom, my mom really was this. And one of the people goes, we believe, oh, it's Tasha Smith. She goes, Dennis, we believe you have a mom. Like obviously. And then the one lady goes, I don't know that I believe that.
Well, that's it's classic boy who cried wolf. Like, who's going to
Yeah.
believe shit you got to say now?
My final note is I also think it's clever that because of course Dennis he gets fired from his job because he doesn't show up because of course he's embarrassed and Marcy's there and I'm sure everyone knows what he did. So at their final meeting, Roman asked like, "Well, what are you up to now? Like, what kind of work? Like, didn't you want to design books?" And he goes, "Actually, I'm working on my real estate license." And I thought that was very deliberate because his personality and how that might fit into selling real estate, like being a damn liar. And well, but I think it's ironic because in real estate, like when that interaction you have with that person is for a moment, right? Like it's this huge thing that you're doing. Like the real estate agents we've worked with, it's kind of like an emotional ride for the
Um,
period.
that shit is straight up trauma bonding, at least in LA.
And then once you get the keys and the toaster, or in our case, the coffee, well, what did the last person give us? A coffee maker?
Oh, you traded it in, so
I sure did. Well, oh yeah, people, please send gift receipts with the gifts you send us. But anyway, yeah, it's like after you get your coffee maker and the keys to your house, it's like you don't ever speak to that person again until it's the next time that you're ready to do something. So I kind of think it's kind of brilliant that that's what Dennis is going to do because we've seen that he doesn't. he doesn't detach that easily. Right? Like, can you imagine Dennis going through that trauma bonding with someone to find them the right house and go through all the things and then just like I could imagine Dennis being the kind of agent who would like stop by and check on them every couple weeks and
The thing is, if you properly learn how to reset boundaries, and I think that with practice, that can be good for someone like that.
yeah, yeah. But so I'm saying I think it's such a great choice to have that be like his next step because it says a lot. But
Well, and also at that moment, he designed a cover for the Giving Tree that he gives to.
and what is the artwork on this book is like a it's like a car accident, like a vehicle hitting a tree, and then you see a dead body on the ground. Like this is not appropriate, sir.
It's very symbolic for the literal and figurative havoc that Dennis has caused in their lives.
Anyway, if people can't tell from me talking so much, I really liked this movie. I thought it was very well written, well shot, well acted. I really was invested in these characters. It was funny, uncomfortable, kind of all the things I really want.
Yeah, actually.
What would you give Twinless?
Uh, four.
Yeah, I think it's excellent. I would give it 4 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.